And everyone say Shanah Tovah. Shanah Tovah to you all. Welcome to the temple for Rosh Hashanah children's services. We're so glad that you have the opportunity to be able to join us here today or join us on live stream so we can celebrate this Rosh Hashanah together. In ancient times, a long, long time ago, the people of Israel dwelt in tents. That meant we lived outside under beautiful tents like this. And as we did over time, we began to sort of learn to live together, all huddled around the great tent in which services were held. This led someone once, thousands of years ago, to write a song, and that song is on the screen or on your first page of your handouts. It's called Hine Matov Umanaim Shevet Amin Gam Yachad. How good it is and how special when we can gather together, when we can encamp together as one. So imagine yourself encamped in the desert, surrounded by myriads of tents, and let's sing together Hine Matov as we welcome the new year. Now I'd like to invite Chava Penner to come forward, lead us in candles and kiddush. I can ask you all to rise as we welcome formally these Rosh Hashanah and High Holy Days.
Let there be light. In the first moments, God spoke these words, and suddenly God saw that there were good days ahead, that the light was good, that the world was good. Let there be light. In these first moments of this holy day, we light candles, we create light, and we see that there are good days ahead. Let's be the light. Let's bring the good to this year, to this world. Let's be like God as we light these lights. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'chad l'ner shel yom tov. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe. You make our lives holy with mitzvah, commanding us to light these holiday candles.
Baruch atah Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'chad l'ner shel yom.
Tonight is a special night, a time of sweetness and joy, a time to celebrate our lives and the lives of the people that we love. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei b'ri hagafen. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, creator of the fruit of the vine.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei b'ri hagafen.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, shehechiyanu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe. You give us life, sustain us, and bring us to this happy time.
Please be seated. Do you know George?
Who knows George? You know George. George from Oh No George? You don't know George? Well, you're about to meet George. This is George. This George has traveled a very long way to tell this story. George, Oh No George is a book by Chris Houghton, who lives in England. And Chris, actually from his house, sent George to us from here. He traveled across the ocean in a plane. He arrived in Chicago, where he was trapped in immigration for at least 2 weeks. Seriously? I couldn't get him out of the Chicago holding cell. But he finally found his way here to tell us a story that has within it, although I'm not sure Chris Houghton knew, some deep Jewish roots. The name of the story is Oh No George. Can you put Oh No George up? Here we go. This is the story of a dog named George and his good friend Harry. This is George, and this is Harry. Say hi, George.
Hi.
Hi, Harry.
Hi.
Harry is going out. Will you be good, George? Asked Harry. Yes, said George. I will be very good. What do you think?
No.
George is home alone. I don't know. Let's see. I hope I'll be good. I hope I'll be good, said George. George sees something in the kitchen. Can you see what George sees?
Wow,
It's cake. I said I'd be good, George thinks, but I love cake. What will George do? What do you think? You think George will be good and sit next to the cake and not eat any of it?
He'll eat it.
I think so too. Oh no, George! Not only did he eat the cake, he ate all of the cake. Oh no, George. What does George see now? It's cat. I said I'd be good, George thinks, but I love to play with cat. What will George do?
He'll chase him.
Chase the cat, of course. Oh no, George! Look at the cat running away. What has George seen now? Can you see? What does he see?
Flowers.
Flowers and dirt. Some lovely dirt. I said I'd be good, said George. George thinks, but I love to dig in dirt. What will George do?
He'll dig in.
I think so too. Oh no, George! Look at him making a mess. Harry's back. Hello, Harry. Great to see you, says George. George, what have you done? Says Harry. You've ruined the place. And how on earth could you eat a whole cake? I said I'd be good, George thinks. I hoped I'd be good, but I wasn't. Is George happy?
No.
George is sad. What will George do now?
You did it.
Well, let's see. I'm sorry, George says. I want to give you my favorite toy. George wants to give Harry a ducky because he feels bad. Harry says, thank you, George. Why don't we go for a nice walk outside like you? Great, George loves to go out, and there are so many things to see and do. Uh-oh. George has seen a cake. Will he eat it?
No.
No, George goes straight past. Well done, George. George sees some lovely dirt. There's lots of that outside him. Will he have a little dig? No. Well done, George. George doesn't even try to chase Cat. Even Cat was a bit surprised by that. Something smells very interesting. What can it be? It's trash. It's trash in a can. There's nothing George likes more than digging in the trash. What will George do? It's his favorite thing. Here's the surprise. That's the end of the book. So what do you think George will do? Should we ask George? What do you think George is going to do? Will he dig in the trash and make a mess?
No, he won't have. He can deal with that.
If he can deal with not chasing Cat, you think he could pass the trash?
Yes.
You think so? Any other thoughts?
I think both.
You think both?
I have no idea.
Interesting response.
He'll dig in trash cleanly.
He'll dig in trash and then clean it up. That would be a both. That's pretty good. I like that. Okay. Wait a minute. I got to run around and look. Need this mention?
Thank you.
It's time for our service. We will try to find an answer to how George will respond to that question. And for those of you who picked up some crayons and the coloring page, you'll notice there's some boxes there you can check and some coloring you can do during the service. And for those of you who are at home, this is not on. It is, but not allowed. There we go. And for those of you who are at home, you can find in the link, there's a link in the YouTube channel that will lead to a PDF that will print out, and you too can answer the question. We'll have it displayed at the end of the service. So we continue with our service and some interesting news. George, as it turns out, was written longer ago than Chris Houghton ever thought. The story of George is very, very good. It began long, long ago. Our people have been learning about how to say you're sorry and how to really show that for thousands of years. And a very wise person named Moses Maimonides, who lived almost 800 years ago, said pretty much the whole story of George in one paragraph. It says, what is true repentance? When one is confronted by an identical thing wherein one transgressed, and it lies within one's power to transgress again, but one nevertheless abstains and does not succumb out of repentance, not out of fear of weakness, that is true repentance. The rabbis taught for many years ago that there's a Yetzer Tov within you and me, an inclination to do good, striving within us to do our best, a feeling in our hearts that we can heal the brokenness of the world and make it one. But those same rabbis long ago taught us that there is a Yetzer Ra within us too, an inclination to be wild, a selfishness in our thoughts, a laziness about the needs of anyone other than ourselves. To which voice shall we listen? Which inclination shall we let rule? Will we just hope to be good, or can we learn from our mistakes and choose, like George, to be the best that we can be? Stand up, it's time to pray. it's time to welcome the words of forgiveness into our hearts. Please join me in the Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamorach, Baruch Adonai Hamorach, Olam Va'ed. Praise be the one to whom our praises due. Praise be the one to whom our praises due, now and forever.
Lai, 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 lai. Praise be the one to whom our praise is due. Praise be the one to whom our praise is due. Praise be the one to whom our praise is due. Now and forever. Lai, 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 lai,
God loves nature and so do we. Celebrating this new year outside makes us feel more free. God made the trees, the grass, the sun, and the sky. We thank God for our planet and promise to protect it as best we can try. Please be seated. So Rosh Hashanah is a new beginning, and like all new beginnings, it's a fresh start. And this is a prayer that teaches us about our fresh start this year, our new beginning. In the beginning, you were perfect. When you were born, when God first breathed inside you, your first breath of life, you were perfect. When you were a baby, you had never done anything, and so you had never done anything wrong. Now that you're older, you can do many things. You can run and jump and play, and you can love. But sometimes you can get mad, and you can do bad things as well. When you do something bad, we can say we're sorry, but sometimes I'm sorry isn't enough. Some broken things can't be fixed. And so every year we gather for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and we think about the year gone by and all the times we have hoped to be good, but really we're not. We say together that we are sorry for all the times we had to say, I'm sorry. And then we're perfect again, just like when we were born. The new year is when we begin the game again and the score is all even. In the beginning, you were perfect. And now you're perfect again. We rise again, this time for the Shema, our promise to God that we make in our hearts, that the oneness of God and our relationship together will always lead us to good. Please join me. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. Blessed is God's glorious majesty forever and ever.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed.
Please be seated. This song, And You Shall Love, is a lesson about how we can do the things we promise to do. Please sing it with us.
And you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. And these words which I command you on this day shall be upon your heart, shall be upon your heart. And you shall teach them diligently unto your children. You shall speak of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise, and when you rise. You shall bind them both sign upon your hand. They shall be for frontlets between your eyes. You shall write them on the doorpost of your house and upon your gate, and upon your gate. You may remember and do all of my commandments, and be holy unto your God, unto your God, unto your God.
You see George. What's George doing? George is laying down. What else is he doing? I think he's resting. That's a nice term. He's asleep. Sometimes we're asleep to life. This is a story about how you need to be awake to life, to see the miracles that are happening all around us. There's a story about two Israelites crossing the Sea of Reeds, having escaped Egypt. The friends trudged through the mud. As they stepped over jagged shells and avoided displaced jellyfish, they couldn't stop complaining. My new sandals are getting ruined. I cut my foot on a starfish. They were so focused on the mud that when they got to the other side of the sea, they realized that they had completely missed the miracle that had happened all around them. This year, there will be moments that are less than perfect. There will be hard times, and we'll have to do things that we'd rather avoid. But even in the less than perfect moments, let's not miss the miracles taking place all around us. Mi Chamocha is how we express our joy in a beauty and a miraculous moment, like the parting of the Red Sea from thousands of years ago, where these words were first written. Please join us in Mi Chamocha.
Mi Chamocha, Ha'eli Adon. Mi Chamocha, Nezama Kodesh. Torah Te'ilot, Ose Zelek, Ose Zelek. Mi Chamocha, Ha'eli Adon.
When things go wrong, when life's not fair, we can feel alone sometimes. And sometimes we need to be reminded that we're never alone. We must keep our hopes alive. We must raise our voices high. We must hold each other tight. We must stand up to the light and be the light. This is a song of reminder that we're always surrounded by God's love. Shelter us beneath your wings. Guard us from all harmful things. Keep us safe throughout the night till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right. Amen. Please join us. This is an easy song. It's a bedtime song because at bedtime, sometimes we need to be reminded that we're never alone. We are partners in God with God in repairing the world. We rise one more time. Actually, there'll be another one after this. We rise again for a blessing for our mothers and our fathers, and our grandparents and our great-grandparents, and the generations of our parents from long ago. Nice to type this up. May the one who blessed our parents and their parents from long, long ago bless our lives too. May we know God as Abraham our father did and face our trials with great dignity. Like our mother Sarah, may we be gracious and kind to those who pass our way. May we be gentle as Isaac and as determined as Rebekah. Like Jacob, may we be dedicated and conscientious in all that we set out to do. And like Rachel, may we radiate warmth from our soul to everyone whose life touches ours. May we be blessed as Leah was blessed, with a close and loving family. Remember us unto life, O God who celebrates all life, and write our name in the book of life for your sake, O God of life. Blessed are you, Adonai, who watched over and protected Abraham and Sarah, our mothers and our fathers, from long ago, who watches over us now too. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ezra, Sarah. Our family is an old one, stretching back generation after generation after generation. Our story is made up of chapters that are filled with adventure, pain, love, and faith. Today, all over the world, our diverse and beautiful family stands in congregations like this one, saying the words that link us. To all the people who have come before us, we hope that you are here with us. After all, you are a member of our family too. Please be seated. You see the dove on this page? See how our wings are made up of shofars? That's a reminder that of our greatest hopes and our greatest blessings. We hope in this new year, as we blow the shofar, we will be ushering in a year of peace. Spread over us your peace like a vast quilt crafted by strong and patient hands. Planted deep within us like a million seeds claiming life in the heart of moist soil. Grant it now. Grant a generous peace with great and gentle blessing. Creator of peace, kiss us all with a good night and bless us with peace. Shalom.
לכל השלום. כי אתה הוא ערך הטוב, לכל השלום. שלום לעם ישראל, תעשי לעולם. שלום לעם ישראל, תעשי לעולם. את עמך ישראל, בכל עת ובכל שעה, בשלומך. שלום לעם ישראל, תעשי לעולם. שלום לעם ישראל, תעשי לעולם. תעשי לעולם. תעשי לעולם.
Look back on the year gone by. Think about all the wonderful things you did. All the times when you were caring and helpful and friendly. All the times when you did what you knew was right. And while we're at it, let's look back on the year gone by. Now, the sometimes when maybe we didn't do exactly what we should. This is a listing from A to Z of all the things you might maybe have done that maybe we could remember to do better next year. Your part is the part on the top. See, I did it, I'm sorry. So let's all say that together. I did it, I'm sorry. Next year I'll be good. I'll try to be better and do what I should. There's no one to blame. The fault was all mine. Forgive me, I won't do the same thing next time. I ate all the cake that Mama saved for our guest. I broke her blue vase and I left a big mess. I cried, kicked and screamed till I got on my own way. I didn't clean up my old clothes for 12 days. I erased the great novel that Daddy was writing. I frightened the cat with my scratching and biting. I gossiped and told tales and I knew that they weren't true. I happened to fill Susie's slipper with glue. Together, I did it. I'm sorry. Next year I'll be good. I'll try to be better and do what I should. There's no one to blame. The fault was all mine. Forgive me, I won't do the same thing next time. I ignored the advice of my parents and teachers. I jumped on the bed with my wet, dirty sneakers. I hope you didn't do that. I knew it was wrong, but it seemed like such fun. I lied just a bit when they asked what I'd done. I misbehaved terribly during the year. I nagged at my parents, nearly drove them to tears. I organized protests to close down my school. I pushed when they told me quite clearly to pull. I did it. I'm sorry. Next year I'll be good. I'll try to be better and do what I should. There's no one to blame. The fault was all mine. Forgive me. I won't do the same thing next time. I quacked like a duck when the teacher was talking. I ranted and raved, a cacophony squawking. I said I would do things but never did do them. I told tales of lost homework and doggies that chew them. I used Tommy's toys and he said not to touch. I vanished before I could help very much. I walked uninvited through Mrs. Cat's yard. I X'd out the F's on my last report card. I yelled till I made all the neighbors' ears sore. I zoomed on my bike across the fresh painted floor. I did it. I'm sorry. Next year I'll be good. I'll try to be better and do what I should. There's no one to blame. The fault was all mine. Forgive me. I won't do the same thing next time. Now's the other time we stand. This is our I'm sorry song. It's a song that goes back for a very long time. A melody too. It's called Avinu Malkeinu. Everyone messes up, just like George. The important thing is to try to fix our mistakes. This is the heart of the Jewish concept of tshuva, or return. When we practice tshuva, we correct our errors and return to the best versions of ourselves. God, please forgive us all for the times we threw something away we should have recycled. We used more than we needed. We did not protect the animals that you created. We were greedy instead of thinking of others. We did not share what we have. We did not give tzedakah or help the poor and hungry. We did not take care of the earth and the people who live on it. Please forgive us, God. help us to do more for our world. Please join me as we read together these words of Avinu Malkeinu. Avinu Malkeinu, hear our voice. Avinu Malkeinu, we have missed the mark before you. Avinu Malkeinu, have compassion on us and our families. Avinu Malkeinu, help us to end sickness, violence, and hunger. Avinu Malkeinu, let our hands overflow with your blessing. Avinu Malkeinu, help us write our names in the book of life. Well,
Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu
please be seated. So this is the story. This is the lesson of that story. The story of George and the story of us all. George doesn't get everything right away, but he cares about the people in his life and he learns to do better day by day. And we're all like George sometimes. We're not dogs, so we don't love to dig in the trash. But sometimes we don't clean up our rooms just like George. And we can learn to do better. We're not dogs, so we don't chase after cats. But sometimes we're not kind to God's creatures, like our pets or our brothers and sisters. And just like George, we can learn to do better. We're not dogs, so we don't eat a whole cake all by ourselves. But sometimes we forget to share the sweet things in our lives or think about the feelings of others. And just like George, we can learn to do better. We can learn to do better, to care more about the people in our lives, to build a better world for all of us. So the question for the year is not what will George do, but what will you do? At the end of our services, we remember about the people who are not here, but are here in our hearts. Our grandparents, our friends, people we've loved and have loved us, that we remember all. When we say, I miss you today. Today, families come together to celebrate, and so today I miss you more than I normally do. I thought about you when we sang prayers you loved, and I remembered you when you used to share your talents with me when I got cold. I thought about the way you always whispered something funny and made me laugh, but I was supposed to be quiet. I felt nervous as the service ended because I knew that I would need to stand up for this prayer, and I didn't know if I could do it without crying. I hope you know that even as I try to say the words at the college, what I'm really saying is that I miss you today and that I love you always. You rise for college. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei rava, v'alma t'izrach t'irutei v'yamlit malkutei, v'chayachon v'yamechon v'chayei d'chol v'Yisrael, v'agala u'bizman pari v'imru, amen. Yehi shmei rava v'borach v'ulam tumei umay, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yomam v'yitaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei kudusha v'yikush, le'lo mikol v'chata v'shirata, tush v'chata v'nechemata, Damiran bi'alma v'imru, amen. Yehi shlom arava v'yishamai, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Osei shalom v'imroma, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn, and comfort to all who are bereaved. And let's stay together. Amen. Please be seated. One more page. This is the page we've all been waiting for. This is really the reason that we come. It's said that you have not attended high holiday services, Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur. You haven't heard the sound of the shofar. The sound of the shofar takes all of our prayers and lifts them up on high. And so now we call for the sound of the shofar. Cam? Right over there. The shofar is a wake up, like an alarm clock beeping to rouse you from your sleep, or a bird chirping to accompany the morning light. The shofar is an alarm bell ringing out loud and telling you you burned your toast, making your heart thump loudly in your chest. The shofar is a question. What does the new year hold for me? The shofar is a shout. The new year is here. The shofar is a mitzvah. Listen, wake up, get up. Let us stand together and announce this important day. Everybody please rise. Cam, you're blowing that way so everybody can hear. Tekiah. Shavarim. Teruah. Tekiah Gedolah. Shanah Tovah, everybody. I think we can safely say all our prayers and stuff. Thank you, Camden. This is why I have him blow it instead of me. Please join us in the last song, the Shanah Tovah. Only has those words. Join in.
Shanah Tovah, Shanah, Shanah Tovah, Shanah, Shanah Tovah, Shanah Tovah, Shanah, Shanah Tovah, Shanah, Shanah Tovah, Shanah, Shanah Tovah, Shanah Tovah. That's the girl. La 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 la.
Shanah Tovah, Shanah, Shanah Tovah, Shanah Tovah.
Everybody! Shanah, Shanah Tovah, Shanah, Shanah Tovah, Shanah, Shanah Tovah, Shanah Tovah.
May it be a year of joy, peace, and happiness for you all. Shanah Tovah.